What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 30 Minutes of Hell podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I am your host, Brandon Baker, joined as always by Joey Jackson and Matt Jackson. And we've got some actual basketball to react to and talk about, kind of. Some exhibition games that didn't count on the official record, but gave us a few things to think about as we move into the regular season. And we'll do a quick look ahead at the first game that actually counts later this week, as well as a quick glance at some recruiting. And we'll also take a minute to look back at a quick chat that I was able to have with Jimmy Whitt about some of his thoughts on Coach Cal coming to Arkansas and how this upcoming team is stacking up. So let's get right into it. Starting out with the exhibition game reactions, right? First exhibition game against number one Kansas in a packed Bud Walton Arena was pretty freaking cool. Kansas is without three-ish, one superstar, another guard that's probably going to be in the rotation, and then another guard that who knows. But they're without a lot of players. Still had some pretty good experienced players that were there playing in the game. Still had Bill Self on their sideline. Arkansas has almost their full lineup, but no Jonas Adu, and really just takes care of business. And it's really done through the guards for Arkansas. I mean, you had two phenomenal outings from Boogie Fland and from DJ Wagner, both with 20 plus points each, several complimentary stats, and just both looked fantastic handling the ball, getting to their spots, getting to the rim, hitting mid-range jumpers. I mean, they were doing everything all over the court. Does this encourage you guys for the two of them moving forward, along with Nelly Davis, who really didn't have a very big game? I think a lot of it probably because he's still returning from injury. But what does this do for your confidence level for the guards for this team?
I mean, I've always been pretty big on Wagner. He was he was one of my favorite guys that we were able to pull coming into this season. Um, I think he's really just going to command the floor pretty often this season. Boogie, I've been pretty vocal about not being sold on leading up to this, but my God, did that game sell me on Boogie? I feel like a fool for saying what I said. The six steals is incredible. You know, you don't see that out of a freshman, especially against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the nation. So, really excited with what I saw on both sides of the court from both of those players, and kind of moving outside of those two guys. Something that I saw that we hardly ever saw last season was the energy. Now, I know that can be kind of polarizing because that's, which we'll talk about later, was lacking in the TCU game a little bit, but it was exciting to see a group of guys come out and give it their all. You know, we saw spurts of that last year from several different guys, but it felt like we didn't get much of that as a unit, and I felt like as a whole team, this team looked as good as they possibly could from, you know, what we saw in an exhibition game.
And just go ahead and let the record show that Joey is already holding an L before the season starts for his Boogie Flam take. So we can't leave this segment without making sure that's well heard. Go ahead.
I'm sure it'll be the only one that happens the entire year. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you gave that heartfelt apology to Boogie right there because my goodness, dude's a stud.
The kid was amazing.
Yeah, it was just everything he did. I was like, this is it. This is the promised one. But he did great. Now, this feels like deja vu because last year, exhibition, we won against Purdue was ranked one, right?
I think so. They were top
Or
three at the
They
worst.
were.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
they were one.
So with that being said, a little bit deja vu, but like Joey said, this team it felt different, it looked different. We have a much more well-rounded roster. I feel like between defense and offense and rebounding. My goodness, and shoot, give some credit to Big Z. You know,
Hmm. For
dude's a
sure.
specimen. Like, there's not very many people like that man on the planet. He can shoot and he can make some good plays, big plays, and of course, being that tall, you're gonna get some blocks, you're gonna get some rebounds. Overall, that Kansas game definitely sold me on this team. I'm very happy with this team, and I get we're still young and we're still inexperienced as a unit in terms of playing together. But as the season goes on, this team can be something special.
Yeah, well, speaking of that being young and a little bit inexperienced, I think they got a really good experience in the next exhibition game, having to deal with that, late game, close score, trying to close it out and trying to, figure out who's going to get the ball late, when TCU is making this comeback late in the second half of their second exhibition game. And I am glad that it happened now before it counts. Hopefully, we don't see a lot more of that moving forward. It's obviously nothing to be concerned about, but it is a good opportunity, a good experience that these young guys have had to have felt that and seen that late game scenario already. And I say that, Arkansas was up, I think it was 13 points in the third quarter, and TCU came all the way back, chipped away, and hit a three-pointer with I think it was 20 seconds left. So I never retook the lead. A lot of struggles in this game, but the thing for me that stood out a lot is I've been critical, I guess, a little bit of Cal's strategy of just going with 9 guys coming into this season. And I understand the merits of it, of playing time, of NIL money, I get the reasons. But on the flip side of it, you now have a situation where if you're down one rotation player, and in this scenario, I think that Billy Richmond is not super, he doesn't look super ready yet. Like he looks physically there, and he had a really cool, like a great alley-oop dunk on a fast break. He's rebounding okay, but he's just not to the point where you can rely on him for big minutes yet. He might get there this season, but with where he's at now, and then also still missing Jonas Adu, our guys looked winded by the time we got to the fourth quarter, right? And like this early in the season to be having dead legs like that. And I just think that this is really indicative of what we could see if you lose a guy to injury or to foul trouble or whatever the case may be later in the season. And this is exactly why I was kind of worried about only bringing those 9 guys in, right? Because we don't have Adu, and TCU tore us apart with their pick and roll offense. Big Z struggled to defend on the perimeter. We struggled to rotate and help side to defend the rim without our big man, all SEC defender in the paint. That situation could easily arise again down the road, like with what I'm saying, injury, foul trouble, whatever the case may be. So those things make me, raise an eyebrow a little bit at what exactly happened to this game. Am I really moved that much that we lost a 1-point game on the road to TCU in an exhibition? Not really. Like it, whatever. But some of those things stand out to me as we need to watch this as we move forward, right? This is what I've been kind of worried about. Moving forward with this kind of lineup.
Yeah, and those are all valid concerns. I feel like we very, very upfront talked about our fear of injuries, of, cold streaks, of all these different things from having this smaller lineup. So I'm kind of on the same page as you, Brandon. I'm not worried about like us getting winded. I think that'll come. We've got a lot of young guys on the team. The college game is a lot faster paced than the high school game. We've got a lot of guys like that, but I am concerned about like what happens if we do have an injury, like we did last year with Brazil. Like he's one of our big rotation guys and potentially a starter. So if he goes down for half the season like last year, what's going to come of that? So, like I said, we've talked very upfront about this situation. We've just got to hope that it doesn't come about type thing. And hopefully, if it does and it's a big contributor, prepare better for next season. But there's not much you can do about like if we have a season-ending injury and then we only have 8 to 9 rotation guys. That's just kind of you take it's a high risk, high reward situation kind of thing.
Yeah, and that conditioning issue, I feel like, let's see, DJ Wagner, correct me if I'm wrong, he was hurt for a little bit of the season last year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Big Z also
didn't play for half the season.
Didn't play for half the season. And then Brazil had that injury into the year.
For half the season.
Yeah. So like a lot of these guys just don't have this, the stamina built up because they were out, they were recovering. They were probably on some pretty hefty like maintenance protocols too, in terms of like, hey, let's not re-injure it during practice over the summer, things like that. Just limited practices like that. So once these guys are in game form, we'll be fine as far as that goes. But yeah, I don't want to repeat what you guys said, but we have only a few guys. If one of them goes down, it's tough. So that's we always talked about last few months about how, oh man, I'm worried about Cal only getting this many guys because if somebody gets hurt, and we're kind of seeing it just in an exhibition. But hopefully, our strength and conditioning staff and athletic trainers have that all handled, and we'll have a healthy and strong season. But
And
Speaking of strength, though, Matt, let me get your thoughts on how good Edu Thero looked in this game with his 20-point outbreak and how good he looked off the bounce. I was not expecting that kind of stuff from him. I thought it was more of a fast break, play in chaos, offensive rebounding, defender type guy. He was crossing people over and hitting mid-range jump shots. He was dunking on people through traffic. I mean, how crazy was that to watch?
yeah, I mean, you said it best in a tweet. Adu is playing like, or Adu, Thero is playing like a first round draft pick. Dude was playing like a stud. And it's nice seeing him step up when other players weren't on
Yeah.
their game. We didn't see the same game that we saw against Kansas where we had two guys scoring over 20 points. He needed to be that guy, and he showed up in a big way. And that helps me believe in this team a lot more, that much more, just because when somebody's not stepping up, there's somebody next to step up. And he played really well. Golly, dude looked good. And he was playing exactly like I think, Brandon, you wanted him to. You were saying how we were questioning the forward position, and you said if he plays like this, he's going to be our
He did,
starting guy.
yeah.
And he did by a long
He
shot.
needed to take that step forward as a playmaker on the perimeter, whether that be as someone that you can rely on to shoot from deep, or someone that can catch the ball and put it on the deck and dribble and beat someone off the dribble. He did a little bit of both. I think he only hit 1 3 in this game, but he only took two. And just him beating guys off the dribble was very encouraging for me to see. And I don't know how good of a defensive team TCU projects to be, but it doesn't matter that much, right? Like they're a Power Five. They've been to the tournament 3 years in a row. That was a legit team that he's beating off the dribble, looking good like that against. Let's take a quick break. And right after this, we're going to take a look back at a quick conversation that I was able to have with former Razorback guard Jimmy Whitt about some of his thoughts when Calipari was joining the team as their head coach, kind of the roster that he's put together, and what he's seeing a little bit from some of the guys leading into this season.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this: you get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot: the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part: the more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider to level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
What can you tell me kind of what was going through your mind a little bit whenever you saw that the Razorbacks were going to hire John Calipari this offseason as their new head coach?
My first thought was my boy Hunter. He need a raise. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen the like back-to-back hires to where I'm like, yo, this like I haven't. They were probably the number one hires every time of like the summer. Like when we got Muss, I thought that was a huge hire, especially from like since my brother was with Muss at Nevada, just knowing what he could do to like a program, and then to go from that into Cal, it's like you didn't take a step back at all. Like you know what I mean? It's like there was
Right.
no backtracking. Everyone knows what Cal brings to a program. So like for us to get the program back on its feet and like going how it was with the Final Fours and the Sweet 16, then to get Cal, we're gonna have the top recruiting classes every year in the nation. It's like I had to salute my hat to my boy Hunter. He's doing his thing.
For sure, man. Yeah. I think a lot of people kind of felt that same way when Cal is coming on board.
Yeah.
Have you got much of a chance yet to be in the gym with Cal or with any of these new guys that he's brought onto campus?
Well, I was up there. There was some meet and greet, different events and stuff. So I was up there. I think it was the UAB game weekend
Okay.
when Cal was having the the donor thing. The Cal like the camp with the guys that they come down and play and stuff in Bud that he was doing at Kentucky. So there was like a meet and greet. I was able to talk to him there. My associate head coach when I was at SMU was associate head coach at Kentucky for a year with Cal. So like I've known him throughout the years and stuff, obviously playing against him, but a little bit closer with my coach and stuff being at Kentucky.
I got you.
So
I got you. So what
it was cool.
Yeah, I got you. What do you remember about playing against Kentucky and Cal during your days at Arkansas?
One, the crowds, especially at Bud, like you know that we're packed top to bottom. Like you can't hear on the court. Like just huge games. You're going against great competition. Like future guys that are going to be in the NBA. A lot of those guys I played against. I got to play against Jamal Murray. I played against. I played against Jamal Murray. I was able to play against Tyler Eulis. I think that was the year he was like defensive player of the year and player of the year or something like that. I got to play against Tyrese Maxey, Nick Richardson. So like just a lot of guys that NBA talent and they're just huge games. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you get a chance to catch any of the exhibition the other night that Arkansas played?
I had it right on this TV. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
It was
what
impressive. It was impressive, especially just because he put that group together so quick. And I know
Right.
just like for a while, for like a couple of weeks, maybe a month, however long it was, they only had like 5 guys practicing. So for them to come
Right.
out and be able to play how they played like together, I thought it was huge. I think their backcourt is going to be huge this year. I thought Wagner just before they even played or started, I thought he was going to be geared up for a big year, especially coming back. Knowing just his talent from just being able to see him in like high school stuff and stuff. And a little bit last year at Kentucky, I thought he could if he could take that, Arkansas could be really good. And from what it seems like he did, I'm also really impressed with the big man they have in the middle. Just his ability to play with the ball, make passes, read, score, shoot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he could definitely be a weapon. I'm excited to see what he can grow into.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about Boogie Flan, that breakout performance a little bit onto the scene he had?
I like it, especially against a team like Kansas that top in the nation. You know what I mean? They're going to be really good this year. Obviously, they're missing a couple guys, but for him to come out and play like that, you know, I mean, first exhibition game, whatever it is, I was really impressed. I think with him and Wagner in that backcourt, like it could be a special year for Arkansas from what I've seen from that first game.
For sure, yeah, yeah, and talk about Kansas missing a few guys, but I think Dickinson was, the big guy they're missing. They had a lot of their backcourt, right? A lot of their
Yeah,
experienced guards were still there, so to see Boogie and Wagner kind of do that against them was pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else on this team coming up that stands out to you aside from that guard trio?
I would like to see what is Basil Bray. I always mess up his last name, but
Brazil?
Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like an X factor of because I've seen Sparks before he got injured last year, especially towards the beginning of the season when they were in, I want to say Maui. I think it was like the Maui Invitational.
Yeah.
Where he showed me like a lot of flashes that I was like, he could be an X factor for that team. But a team like this, I think with his athleticism, his shooting ability, I think if he learns to put it all together this year, I think he could be like a huge X factor. That I'd be like excited to see how well it can mix in.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm curious to see too, kind of how he goes, and that front court rotation. I think really holds a lot of question marks with this team, just with their depth, right? Because they've got a couple guys like Big Z showed pretty well in the exhibition game, and I think they were missing the Tennessee transfer that could be good defensively,
for sure.
But how Brazil pairs with those guys, I think you're right. I think it'd be a big X factor for them. All right, welcome back in. Pretty cool to get Jimmy's thoughts on a lot of that stuff. I agree with him about a lot of the X factors that he said about how good our guards look. Boogie Flam did look incredible, and he's talked about how DJ Wagner looked good from high school and didn't really get to see a lot of what he could do last year due to his injury. So I'm really excited to see how Wagner kind of progresses this season. But let's take a look ahead now. First, let's talk some recruiting. There hasn't been a lot of noise, a lot of movement externally, but there is still visits going on, official visits, coaches, in-house talking to people, names flying all over the place. And by all accounts, it still looks like Malik Thomas is going to be a Razorback. Just don't have a commitment date for that yet. Insiders, people that are able to cast like crystal balls or whatever their predictions is for their sites. Everyone seems to think that Thomas is going to be a Razorback. Very excited about what that could mean for next year with him alongside Darius Acuff. Could be a crazy good freshman guard duo in the SEC and in the country next year. So hoping that we're able to close that deal with Thomas. And then Chris Senek Jr. was on campus a couple weekends ago. Visits seem to go well. I think the Hogs are in a good spot with him. I think that there's definitely a chance that he could commit here, but I think they're kind of playing catch up a little bit. I don't think they're in the driver's seat per se with him, but he's still very much a possibility on someone Cal could kind of snag at the last minute, the way that Cal does with some of these recruits. And then kind of in the same breath, Nate Ament, he has not been to his official visit yet, but I could be remembering that incorrectly, but Cal has been in to visit him. And again, I think the Hogs are in a good spot with them. With Ament, I think it will be interesting to see how many forwards Duke is willing to take in the same class, because I think they already have three and a fourth trending in that direction. And so would they take five, including Ament, or would they, kind of cap it at that four if they do get the fourth guy? So that's an interesting thing to watch there for him. And then a couple other guys just kind of keeping an eye on. Caleb Wilson postponed his visit this last weekend, mainly because the basketball team was out of town for their exhibition. It was an early morning football game. I don't think it has much to do with like him deciding not to come here or anything like that. But I also don't really think that we're in the driver's seat there either. Definitely a name to remember, but I think he'll probably be a Kentucky Wildcat next season, if I had to guess. Um, and then just a couple other guys. You've got the rising four-star kind of forward guard hybrid, Sean Abev, someone that I would personally love to have on the team. I think that he could be one of those hidden gems in this 2025 class, just with his skill set along with his size, as well as currently top 5 ESPN prospect for 2026, Micah Muranen. still a possibility that he could reclassify and choose Cal for next season and come to the Hill next season. Out of all those names, I don't think you get more than 4 guys. I wouldn't be shocked if you end with just 3. But I would guess that you get Acuff and Thomas, and then some combination of Ament and Abev, or Sinak and Murinen, some combination of the two between those 4. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, there hasn't been a lot of external chatter about any of that yet. Are there any of those guys specifically that you guys are hoping that we close the deal on for next season?
I'd love to to get Abev. I'm with you. Those are the type of guys that we've always liked. We've always, especially like in the NBA and the pros, those are the type of guards and that we kind of look at. But I'd love to get Abev. I'd really like to get Amin too. I don't know, like you said, if we will or not, but those are the 2 that I'm kind of looking at.
Yeah, I'm with you on Abev. I mean, I'm always down for the hidden gems, They're always fun to watch. I mean, I feel like getting one of them alongside Acuff and Thomas, we're looking at a great freshman class. I'd be fine with 3, and then the rest transfer in. Try to keep us as veteran as possible. But overall, whatever Cal thinks, Matt likes. So
if there's one thing he does pretty well, it's build a roster. So
that's right.
And always kind of nice to have returners, but we're hoping to get several guys drafted off of this roster. So maybe not a lot of returners next year, but we'll see. All right, so let's talk some real basketball coming up. On Wednesday, November 6th, Arkansas makes their official debut against Lipscomb. This game starts at 7 p.m. We'll be streaming on the SEC Network Plus. Lipscomb finished 20-12 last year, 11-5 in conference, good enough for second in the ASUN conference. It's hard to really research a lot of these mid-majors before you've seen any game action with a brand new team, especially like they're returning their leading scorer from a year ago. Will Pruitt averaged over 15 points a game, but then their next 3 leading scorers after him are all gone. Like they didn't return any of the other top 4 scorers on their team from last year. So it's kind of hard to know what really to expect from them. They've got a 6'9" forward that is a freshman last year, contributed quite a bit. I could see him taking a good step forward this year. It's Dylan Faulkner, averaged over 6 and about 4 rebounds a game last year. But again, it's kind of hard to know with some of these teams before we've seen any action yet, what really to expect from that side of things. So instead, what really are you looking for from Arkansas in this home opener against, a mid-major school that competes pretty well in their ranks, right? Like they were second in their conference last year, not a pushover by any means. So, what are you looking for out of the Hogs?
Yeah, I want them to be sharp. I want to see effort, and I want to just see sharpness, and that's just something we were lacking against TCU. I feel like we were making some mistakes and not doing things the way that we know we can. So seeing them be a little bit sharper, and of course a little bit just quicker, just more conditioned, more ready to play. I think you posted something on Twitter, Brandon, saying that Calipari said that they need to get kind of reset after that Kansas game because they were kind of lax in practice. They had a team meeting, and they were talking to Calipari was talking about that. But I think that TCU game was needed super early. I mean, exhibition wise, because it was like, hey, big game, you win it, and then you come in and you play a team that is a little bit worse than #1 team in the nation right now, and you blow it. So that's going to happen. We're going to see good teams throughout the SEC play. And so seeing that going into there, we got to just be sharp, got to be better. So this is a good bounce back. Let's see us just take care of business. That's all I
think that's a good point, Matt. I should have mentioned that earlier too about very similar. I mean, you brought it up, very similar to what happened last year with Purdue. You win that big game, and I think the team kind of had a little air of confidence, of false confidence that they carried into the season, and it didn't go well once they started getting a little big-headed, a little full of how good they thought they were. And I think that the leadership from the player side of things last year didn't help them to recover at any point. Like they never bounced back from it. So I'm hoping that there's a difference this year with the leaders that we see on this squad, as well as Calipari, to kind of get their head right after a big win like that.
And I just want to see some improvement. Um, we're not going to hit home runs this early in the season. We'll have good games, definitely. But we saw a really good game against Kansas, then kind of flopped a bit against TCU. I just want to see us on a constant progression. We don't have to blow them out by 50. We don't have to have three guys score 20, 30 points. Like, I just want to see us, like you said, Matt, come out with energy, come out ready to play, make good decisions, rotate well defensively, like just play good basketball. We don't, like I said, we don't have to hit a home run. I just want to see some consistency across our guys. I'd love if Adu can come back. I'm not sure if he'll be ready for that, but I really want to see Nelly get his footing. Something that we really haven't seen is the practice version of Nelly that we were so hyped about coming into the year. We saw clips of him and he was just totally dominating the practice court. It's almost like the Hoodie Mello situation. You would see clips of him in the off season. You're like, oh man, this is going to be his year, and then he comes out. But I don't
tell
think
me we signed Ben Simmons to our roster.
No, I don't think at all that's going to be the case with Nelly. I think that he's coming from a situation which we talked about a lot of guys last year that were coming from a situation where they were the guy and they would have to learn how to play in a system. And I think that's what, practicing with the guys and then playing against a different team are two completely different things. Any athlete knows that. So I think he's just got to get his footing, get into Cal's system, and just kind of go from there. But I think we'll definitely see him, pick up his game. And but yeah, I'm really excited for this first game, and seeing how we keep moving forward from here.
Yeah. And
For
hopefully,
me,
oh,
go ahead, Matt.
yeah, I was gonna say hopefully that he injured his shooting wrist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully that wrist is getting a little bit more healed and mobile, because oh gosh, I can only imagine how much that plays a role in your shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm sure
The
he'll
injury
be
itself
back ready
and
to
the
play.
confidence level and everything. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
got to mess with your head too. And that's Nelly that hurt his wrist. And yeah, they said at the TCU exhibition that Adu was out mostly precautionary, and that his main focus is just getting right for the season, right? They didn't want to risk anything in this game, the exhibition game. So I'm hopeful that means that he could be back for Lipscomb, but we haven't heard anything yet. If they want to hold him out for one more game, I think that we have a heck of a non-conference schedule this year too that we're going to need him healthy for. So it wouldn't shock me to see them hold him out for one game here, but we'll see. I think it's 50-50 right now, in my opinion. But for me, I think a lot of this first game is exactly what happened against TCU, right? Like we can't get a big head. We can't play down to a level of competition, because it should be a lesser team on paper, but that shouldn't matter for your level of effort, right? That's something that I've seen a lot of. I mean, we've seen it in recent years in the tournament with Cal. I mean, we've seen it with our own eyes about he's lost to some lower seeded teams in the tournament recently. And that's, if you get on Twitter and look at Kentucky fans trying to talk trash to Arkansas fans, that's a lot of what they're saying is good luck with Cal when he plays a mid-major school, or when you face a 15 seed in the tournament, or whatever the case may be. And of course, I don't think Cal loses a lot of those games, but he's lost some notable ones in recent years, right? And so I'm not worried that they're going to lose this game, but I want the tone to be set that we're taking it seriously, right? I want to come out from the jump and be energized and ready to play in this first game. And I think they will be in the first game that matters in front of a home crowd, but that's really what I'm looking for. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to get the season started. We've gotten a taste. We've almost got our roster fully healthy, almost got real basketball to play. So I'm ready to get this thing rolling. But for now, that's all we've got for you today. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in to talk some Razorback hoops with us. Reminder that we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your stuff at. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, whatever it is you do on those sites. I have been your host, Brandon Baker, joined by Joey Jackson